What's cooking, Gumbo Nation? You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio, and I'm your host, Dwayne Stein, the Gulf South Mortgage Authority. And this is your home show where for 9+ years, next month it'll be 10. Wow. We've been providing education and options on what is or will be your largest investment and most valuable asset, your home. Hey, if you're new to the show, welcome to the Gumbo Nation. We're glad to have you with us. If you want to join the show, 504-260-0995, or you can shoot an email to info@mortgagegumbo.com. Got an outstanding show planned for you today. Total Home Authority member, Fleur Law and Title has some great representation, going to be in studio. We've got one of their senior lead attorneys. We've got their business development manager. So Hannah Wilson and Brandy Winchester are going to be live in studio. So if you've got any questions regarding law, title, anything like that, or just want to say hi, hey, shoot an email to info@mortgagegumbo or call in 504-260-0995. We're going to be talking about what they've got going on, but really estate planning. What's the job of a title attorney? So lots of good stuff there, so you do not want to miss that, so stick around. Always excited to have our Total Home Authority members in studio. So a lot going on, so as they are going to be our featured guests this week, I guess we should start off with a who dat, right? I mean, let's get that who dat in there. There's reason. Saints game tonight. Even though it's preseason, everybody's sort of excited. Maybe this is the year, to be like, okay, let's do this. We shall see. I mean, I renewed my tickets, so that's a good thing. And then, of course, in a couple weeks, our annual Fantasy Football Spectacular. Hey, we take a little bit of a break, show our human side, and very popular annual segment. We'll have fantasy guru Jason Fontenelle in studio as we'll be discussing fantasy football in a couple weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year, right, Dave? I mean, everybody's excited. There's reason to be excited. And let's just hope that this is that year. So, good.
I get to barbecue today. I'm just excited about breaking out the barbecue.
Oh, there you go. Good, man. You having some folks over for the game or what?
No, I ain't got no friends, bro.
I know.
Just cooking for me and my
I
kid.
know. I was just trying to make you sound cool, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so.
Thanks, buddy.
You got it, brother. You got it, man. So, but with that being said, let's kind of talk about this week and where we're at. Hey, last week we talked about rates and what they're doing and the downtrend that we had and why was that. And, for almost 2 years, we've been telling you the canary in the coal mine is the jobs data. And the jobs reports are starting to line up. And that's why we've been saying before we were ever going to hit 2.0 or 2% GDP, we were never going to get close to that. We were going to have to follow the job trends. And let's face it, the pain is real. Lots of companies, when you look at these restaurants that are going bankrupt and laying people off, saw United Auto Workers, 2,500 people being laid off. There's a lot going on. And then, of course, you've got political stuff as well. So jobless claims came out this week and this past week, and it was down 17,000, so you see a little bit of a bump, right? Last week we saw rates kind of plummet. Well, this week they kind of spiked. And what have we been telling you? This is not going to be some roller coaster where it's just going to fall off or a cliff. The rates are going to have ebbs and flows, right? And it's not going to be something that's overnight. That's why we've been preparing you. That's why we've been kind of steering this ship for you. However, we are starting to see some of that excitement. But one of the things I look at is that came out this week is continuing claims. And, for those who've never been on unemployment, congratulations. But for some of us who have, a continuing claim means that you are having to keep requesting more unemployment. And there's a time frame. I don't know what it is anymore. But after so long, you fall off. But so what I look at is I'm not worried about new jobless claims. I'm looking at continuing. Because what that means is you can't find a job, right? So, the only ways you get off of that is you find a job or the benefits expire. And right now there's 1.875 million folks. That is the highest in 3 years that are on unemployment. So that's why, again, at Mortgage Gumbo, we've been telling you, we saw this coming, right? And nobody wants to celebrate this pain. This is a stinky thing when people don't have jobs, or what you're looking at is, because that's creating pain. So you have higher prices, inflation, all these things going on. Now you're starting to get the word recession is sneaking back in. So what does that mean for you? And when you look at how do you know things are tough, we're at 9% below the 2019 average in quit rates. So what is a quit rate? Well, you ain't quitting your job if there ain't something better out there, right? Most people don't lose their jobs and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go take something to pay less money, to make things harder on myself. So when we're looking at that, we are now looking at, we're below 2019. So when the quit rate is that at that point, that means you're staying where you're at. And what are we seeing with employers? We're seeing hours, right? So, hey, I want to keep you on, but I can't maybe pay you 40 hours. So I'm going to pay you 34 hours. You're still full-time, but can't necessarily get you to that number. So there's a lot of this going on right now, folks, and just a lot with the challenges and everything. So that's why my point of bringing all this up, and we track this, and next week we'll have CPI data. Again, this stuff comes around so often. My point being is the Fed's going to cut rates. And we told you this months ago, that it was going to be in September, and that is going to happen. We're going to see that. Now, is it going to be 25 or 50 basis points? I'm betting on 50 basis points. That's just me. I'm a gambling guy. I like to do that because I think they got to do something that's going to have a little bit of a spike. And why is that? What's happening in November? Elections, right? The Fed is getting a lot of heat. If you see what's going on, they've got all these politicians that are coming out telling them, oh, you should be cutting rates. These are the same people that said this is a great thing. All of a sudden, in a 2-week period, they want, when these reports onto their liking and the truth starts to come out, you start seeing the Fed all of a sudden, they're getting a lot of pressure. But they're not going to have some mid-meeting. They're going to cut when they meet in September. So a lot of that, we'll be keeping an eye. We'll be kind of looking at that for you. So what that means is rates are in a nice place right now. They're a lot lower than what they were. Your buying power is a lot higher than it's been. It's the highest it's been in a year, meaning how much home you can afford. And those are things that really right now you need to be excited about. My question is, are you in one of these buckets here? Are you one of the 2 million homeowners right now that have a rate of 6 to 6.5%? Or 2,000,6,625 to 7, or 2,000,007% plus? I like to keep things simple. Are you one of the 6 million homeowners that did a mortgage that have 6% or higher? Right? We know how many folks are locked in those golden handcuffs because they've got that rate under 6%, that 4.5% rate. We know that. But how many of you, do you fall in that bucket of 6 million folks? Or are you one of those folks who have that 6% or higher? And the reason why I bring that up, especially if you've got an FHA loan or a VA loan, hey, there's some streamlines out there. Maybe a conventional loan where we can get rid of that PMI. You could take advantage of how much your mortgage has gone up and use some of that equity. Refinances, folks, are up 60%. 60%. So everybody else is doing it. So it's kind of that FOMO, and we talk about this all the time. Even if you're not part of the 6% or higher and you're below, and you've got that 4% rate, or you're struggling, or you wearing that interest rate like a badge of honor right now, and at the end of the day, you're still unable to pay your bills because the debt has gotten so bad because of those credit cards and that stuff that's just not being able to, you just can't get control. With an average car note of $750, the interest rates at 25% on credit cards. And those are the things when we're looking at it that you really just got to be real with yourself, okay? Then you could take advantage of being a homeowner. Then you could take advantage of it. So, hey, are rates going to dip? Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be ebbs and flows. So are you going to be prepared? Because next year, we'll be sitting in this same studio, God willing, and discussing how awesome it was that you took the plunge, that you bought even when the rates are higher, because now home values are even that much more, and everybody's coming out of the woodworks because the rates are at 5.75 or 6%. You want to be refinancing at that point. I'm telling you, you're going to see 20 and 21 all over again, except instead of 2.5% and 3% rates, it's going to be at 5.5%. And everybody's going to be battling. So are you going to be ready for that? That's what Mortgage Gumbo is here for. And, hey, if you are a home buyer, go read up. Next Saturday, big changes. We're going to talk about it in detail next week. Matter of fact, we've got an event coming up with Fleur this week talking about the big changes with some realtors. But if you are buying, now you've got to sign a buyer agreement before you can go out and look at a home. You've got to sign something saying that if that seller's not willing to pay your agent for closing that loan, for bringing you to them, you're going to have to sign something saying that you're willing to pay that realtor. Many of you first-time home buyers, guess what? Sure you don't have an extra 2%, 3% lying around to pay that realtor. So that's why you got to get with Mortgage Gumbo. We'll explain that to you, and we'll explain how we're helping our buyers win even with that and helping prepare for you for that time. So, all right, let's knock out real quick because the ladies of Florida Law and Titles here. So let's knock out our weekly segment we like to call Rate Watch. All right, so last week, 30-year conventional was at 6.40. Like I said, we had a little bit of ebbs and flows, right? So now we had a little bit of a hiccup. This is like a little baby roller coaster. So last week, 6.40. This week, 6.54. Folks, that short of heck beats June 29th being in here at 7.07, right? That sure beats last October being in here at 7.97. You have picked up $25,000 to $50,000 in buying power. In buying power. So that is a tremendous thing. 15-year, 589, 607. FHA stayed flat at 6.09. Jumbo, 6.73. VA, 6.10. So again, interest rate is a number on a piece of paper. My goal right now is it's not what is your rate, it's how cheaply, how affordable, how comfortably can you get me into this new home when you're considering purchasing that home. All right, on the other side of the break, stick around. We're going to have Hannah Wilson and Brandy Winchester with Fleur Law and Title in studio live. We're going to be talking about estate planning, title insurance, just some creative ways that are you a parent with a child going off to college or 18 years or older, and maybe there's some questions. We're used to going in and checking those grades and kind of sneaking around. They've got some things that they're putting in place that I think is really, really cool. I know I'm going to be taking advantage of it as well. So stick around. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio, 504-260-0995. All right, welcome back, Gumbo Nation. Glad to have you back. Hey, it's a Who Dat Saturday, so how cool is that? Excited, got the Saints. But even more excited, love when I could have Total Home Authority members in studio, especially live. They're busy, but to give up some of their time on the weekend is awesome. So Total Home Authority, Florida Law and Title. In studio. I guess get the applause ready. Dave, you got the applause. We're happy to welcome Miss Hannah Wilson. Welcome to Mortgage Gumbo.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Good. Glad to hear it. And Miss Brandy Winchester.
Awesome.
Glad to have you as well. So these are the ladies of Florida Law and Title, filling in for Jeff Lesashare, owner, president, who you've come to love, who's usually on the show. We love him, but, I guess he's... let's just call it, Jeff. You got more important stuff to do, right? So I get it, bro. It is what it is. But hey, I'd rather hang out with these two as well. So we're gonna have a good time. So let's kind of introduce y'all a little bit to the audience. So Hannah, you've been with Florida Lee for a little bit now. Kind of tell us, how you got into the industry and how you came about with Florida Lee.
Yeah, so I've been here a little bit over a year. Got into title because I never wanted to go to court.
Okay.
Learned that in law school.
Yeah.
I started out on the South Shore, learned the ins and outs of the South Shore market. Recently took over managing our Bandonville office. So it's been great. We love Florida Lee.
Awesome. Yes, we do. All right, and then you also married, right? And
Not quite yet.
Not
September,
quite. I'm
Dwayne.
sorry. All right, my bad. That's right. September.
Calling
That's
me
right.
out.
That's right. Yeah, my bad. I'm just still waiting for the invitation. But anyway,
Everybody else is.
that's right. And then, big moment, right? This week, started school, right?
Yes.
Got a 2-year-old who
Yes.
started at Cedarwood.
Cedarwood, yep.
How you handling that?
Good. I mean, I was worried. He waltzed right in like he had been there forever. Was pushing me away when I was trying to kiss him bye. So, I mean, good
Nice.
parenting because he's independent or bad because he hates me.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
Either way.
We'll
Well,
find out.
you will find out soon enough. So, Brandy, that takes me. Look, I've known you for a long time, too long, right? 15 plus years. Brandy's husband, Jeff Winchester, coached my son. Great people, awesome. And now you are business development over at Florida Lee. And we kind of share because, next Friday I'm sending my son off. I mean, and hey, it's only Southeastern, right? But talk about, you've got 2 awesome boys and, but you just recently, we've got Carter, who stud, love my boy Carter, always smiling, great guy. But you recently had to ship off, your son. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had to send him to boot camp about 6 weeks ago. We got to see him for a whole 3 hours on Wednesday.
Nice.
It was the best 3 hours ever.
Nice.
By the end of the day, though, he was like, all right, it's time for y'all to go.
Yeah.
Which, same. I tell her it's
Okay,
good.
so they
I
don't
said she's
outgrow
doing good parenting. I
Yeah.
mean, it means it's good. They're ready. We raised him right. However, it's a little sad, but by the time I told him he needed to shave better and he needed to get his pants tailored and those things, he was like, all right, yeah, I had
Right,
enough of
right.
you. I don't miss you as much as
Right,
I thought I did.
right. Yeah, so
I make it easy.
So Cooper's gone, he's joined the Air Force, so he's going to play baseball for the Air Force. So what an honor, what a privilege. Stand-up kid. I cannot think of anybody better out there to be representing, our country and just a good overall leader, and can't wait to see what's going to happen with him. So excited about that. And then Carter is 7th grade or 8th grade?
8th grade.
8th grade.
14.
So,
8th grade.
just means that much closer before you and Jeff empty nesting it, and then then you start enjoying life, right?
Yeah, gotta figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying. I'm on my schedule because I'm like, all right. After next week, Gavin, really, he's gone. So now what? What's my excuse now? Kind of crazy, right?
I know.
So
It's scary.
Yeah, like
But exciting.
Yeah, like yesterday, I'm like, hey, come over and pressure wash the office, right? Really, just wanted to have some time. Next thing I know, I'm walking around the office with him while he's
Right.
doing it. He's like, Dad, I got this. I'm like, I know, dude. You'll get it one day, So, all right. So let's talk about Florida Lee Law and Title, and really let's kind of discuss. One of the things I think, and we're going to get into the title insurance, and we're going to talk about that, but y'all touched on, and I want to kind of hear more about my son going off. Kind of tell me about what y'all are putting together for parents out there, right? And let's hear about sort of this program that y'all have come up with to kind of help parents out with, because outside of just the heartache of kids going away, there's still things when you start looking at it from a legal standpoint and different stuff like that. So kind of talk about what y'all have going on with that, and let's just kind of touch on that.
Yeah, so mainly it's power of attorneys, which is included in all of our estate plans, but we've really been trying to fine-tune it for parents of college students. Medical powers of attorney, general/financial powers of attorney. I know when I was 18, I had no business managing my own legal affairs. And they're technically an adult, y'all, so they can manage their own lease. They can manage their own bank accounts, their own scholarship money. So what the powers of attorney would do is kind of extend the parents' legal autonomy over their child a little bit longer. We've also been working on FERPA authorizations. So what that is you can, and college kids are going to kill me for this, but parents can access their kids' grades.
I mean, we happen to pay for the college.
Right.
You know.
So, I get it from both perspectives.
Right.
A little bit different from our normal powers of attorney in that we're making it time limited so that we don't have a 45-year-old Cooper or Carter coming in saying my mom is taking my money, or like, can you please get her out of my life? But yeah, just to kind of give parents a little bit more reassurance that they still have a say in things.
So I think that's pretty cool because, and especially from a power of attorney, there's things that, hey, you may have to help with. And it's not like you're, to me, when we were discussing this, and listen, this is something where if you're interested in this, reach out, go to FDL Law and Title, DadCam, go there, reach out, ask them about this. This doesn't make you, I wanted to confirm for you, Gumbo Nation, this does not make you a helicopter parent. No. I checked with them. They like, no, this does not make, I said, does it make me one of them? And they like, no. But, helicopter parents, no doubt you'll love this. But I think it's something from a protection measure as well, right? Just to make sure, if there's something that needs to be done. For me, let's face it, 45 minutes away, I can get to them, right? But we all don't have that luxury.
That was what I was getting. I mean, I didn't even know any of this that went on. Medical, if they call me from Colorado Springs, he's at the academy now. If he's playing baseball, he gets hurt, I would have no say in any of that. So this changes things. Yes.
Records and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, so hey, I know a lot of people leave state, different things. So again, it's just mom and dad still have a little say-so, right? And
or
I
access,
think,
like she's saying.
or access.
What's going on? Well, we can't tell you, right? So
that's a great point, right? So yes, you can talk to me.
Right.
That's good stuff. Now, is that something, so when you talk, is it like, hey, each semester, or is it like, hey, a year, or, kind of, what is I know you said not really wanting something where 45 years later, so it expires after so long, or?
Yeah, and we can customize that according to the student, according to the parent. Really, it's what the child wants, because they are 18 and they're executing it. I think just a blanket one would be 22, 23 years of age, or obtaining a bachelor's degree or equivalent. Kind of when you're really letting them loose, like, okay, you're an adult now, like you're off on your own. That obviously is going to vary for different families.
Right.
And the kid can also cancel it at any time. Because again, they're giving over a power. They're
That's
a legal
awesome.
adult.
Yeah.
So I want them to know, like, if it's become too much or if you don't want this, you have full authority. You can come to me. We'll cancel it. Whether kids will or not is the question, which is why I think the time limitation is really important.
That's amazing. And that's why, listen, for so long we've had Fleur Law and Title with us, because that kind of creativity, that kind of thought process, that kind of, in my opinion, pioneering changes, industry, things that are going to be helpful. That's the same thing that they do every day for you, Gumbo Nation, when we're looking at closing a loan and we need, maybe there's some title work or reverse mortgages. Hey, power of attorneys are big, big things. And, those designations, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit when we're talking about estate planning, but it's really something that it's kind of like once I turned 50, ladies, I know I don't look it, but when it happened, I'm like, all right, I got to get things in order. Like, now I got to start adulting, right? Like, what is life insurances? What is, where do these things go? And I think this is the same thing. Hey, this is just one of those life new chapters in life that is just something that I don't think parents we've got enough to think about. Our hearts aching, our kid, So, but what I think is great is that the kid also has the say so on it, which is again brilliant. So, stick around. We've got a lot more. We're going to be talking about estate planning, title. What is the job of a title company? Right? And it's a lot more than you think. And then estate planning. Why is that so important, especially in the state of Louisiana? So a lot more to come. Florida Lee Law and Title, Total Home Authority members, Florida Lee Law and Title, Hannah Wilson and Brandy Winchester live in studio. If you've got any questions, 504-260-0995 or shoot an email to info@mortgagegumbo.com.
Scream and shout. twist on this thing, you heard? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Welcome back. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Steiner right here on iHeartRadio, live in studio. Joining me, Total Home Authority member, Florida Lee Law and Title. We have Hannah Wilson and Brandy Winchester. Hey, if you want to reach out, check out, you've got law, title, power of attorney, estate planning, business. You want to open a business and you need help. They are experts in that field. Go to fdllawandtitle.com, fdllawandtitle.com, or you can just you can also go to mortgagegumbo.com. Click on the link in my resources, and then it will bring you directly to their website, and they can take you from there. All right. So in the previous break, we're talking about power of attorney, some of the great things y'all doing for parents. Let's sort of get into something that I know I work with y'all quite a bit on when we're doing reverse mortgages, which are, and let's sort of discuss estate planning, okay? And what I'd like to really kind of just is, number one, just kind of, we hear terms, right? And so what is an estate plan, so to speak, right? If you could kind of give us the remedial definition.
Right. So estate plan is just kind of a comprehensive term for all of the legal documents that we create to manage and plan your estate after your death. Obviously, the most important one being the last will and testament, or your will, any trusts if necessary, powers of attorney, disposition of remains, directions, living wills, whether you want to be an organ donor, donate your body to science. And we really like to customize those packages to the client because every client is different. Every client's assets are different. Every client's families are different
Right.
situations.
Right.
So we kind of sit down with them. We're like, this is what we generally do. Let's figure out what's best for you, what we're going to do here.
So, and I think estate planning is almost like mortgages, right? You could have 5 teachers, they all make the same, but their needs are all different, right? Someone may have a child, someone may be single, someone, that same teacher, they all make the same. One wants a $150,000 house, one wants a $500,000 house, right? So as you're going through the estate planning, what sort of, I mean, if you could give the listeners, the Gumbo Nation, sort of some direction on what are some of the things that should be considered, right? I know people wake up every morning, and maybe they go, all right, hey, today's the day I'm going to get an estate plan rocking and rolling.
Right.
But if that's something that they're thinking, what are some things that they should maybe start putting together or considering to move forward with the estate planning?
Right. So first off, I just want to say, I feel like we talk to people about estate planning, and they're like, oh, I don't have an estate. I don't need an estate plan.
Right. Good point.
If you own anything, you should have an estate plan.
Great point. Good point.
And then there's certain factors that really kind of increase the need or the importance of an estate plan. Minor children, number one. In Louisiana, if you pass away without an estate plan, you have a minor child. My son is 2. He would own half of our house.
Yes.
And his father would own
Yes.
a house. I'm sure you've dealt with that.
Minus mortgages, absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
having to petition the court to do anything to the property for the next however many years.
Yeah.
Until
Please,
they're adult.
okay that they can do this. Yeah.
So definitely protects against that. If you have children that are not minors, but maybe not, the most responsible,
Yeah.
that's a nice way of putting it, or the most trustworthy, you have a good amount of assets, you are afraid something happens to me, my 25-year-old, wild child hasn't grown up yet, it's going to own all of my assets. We can put that into a trust to make sure, there's certain parameters. They can't drain everything all at once to take care of them. I don't know.
I think a lot of times, in having, what Jeff's spoken about in the past too, an estate plan really is a way to protect sort of your life's work.
Right.
Right? I mean, you've worked hard and you get to a point in life and you want to make sure, and you don't have to be 80 years old to have it either.
Yeah.
Right? I think like you mentioned, and then Brandy, us having kids go off, right? And so life changes, right?
Well, and I feel like I'm on both sides. So I have Cooper. We're dealing with that power of attorney. We want to help him and not be helicopter parents, but they're not grown. 18-year-olds are still trying to figure all that out. So you're there to help them. But now I have my parents
Great point.
I'm like on both ends.
Yeah.
So that I'm like pushing them to do this so that we're all okay when something happens.
Because we don't want to think about that, right? It's like, hey, we don't want to worry about that. But what I think about, the things that I've seen that y'all have helped so many clients out with the estate planning also is, the designations, right? Like for me, like, hey, if something would have happened to me, now Gavin's 18, but up to that point, it was like, all right, this family member is probably a better parent than I am, so let him roll there, but maybe not financially. So from a financial standpoint, let's kind of discuss that, because you could have it set up however you want, right? Like, in other words, Brandy can handle for your parents, you could handle the medical side, right? Another family member can handle the money side. That's all what goes into the estate plan, right?
Right. We have two different types of powers of attorney that we usually include in all of our estate plans.
Okay.
Which is, again, that general financial. It's paying the mortgage if mom is unable to, or, handling all the legal affairs you normally don't have access to.
Right.
I'm an attorney. I'd be a good candidate for that.
Right.
But if my brother's a doctor, I want him doing the medical power of attorney, because I don't know anything about, disease or sickness or healthcare decisions. So yeah, you can designate different people. We also designate alternates if that person is unable or unwilling to serve. You can put as many alternates as you want, really. Make sure that you know who's handling it.
So in Louisiana, like I know for the minors, but Louisiana kind of has it, there's a certain plan, right? If something happens and you don't have that in place. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but kind of what is that plan?
Right. So what really makes it different than other states, and a lot of people probably already know this, Louisiana is a community property state.
Right.
So once you get married, all of the assets added within that marriage are community property and 50-50. On that same token, anything obtained before the marriage is separate.
Right.
So I do well with hypotheticals. So
yeah, no, that's fine. Absolutely.
I mean, as of right now, like my fiance and I bought a house a few months ago. We have a kid. Our house is not going to be community property even when we get married. It's each of our separate property.
Understood.
If something happens to one of us, Crane inherits half. If we had attained it when we were married, one spouse would own it outright, half of it. And the other half, the usufruct is given to the house. So usufruct is the use, right to derive fruits.
I heart that's not a four-letter word. I know it
Sorry.
sounds like it. Every now and then I like to hang up the phone and go, usufruct. But it's a legitimate term. It's uses and fruits of a certain, house or whatever it's set up for.
And that's just kind of like things that you want to avoid that normally happen through Louisiana succession. And then also just from an administrative perspective, in your will, you can name your independent administrator or executor. So that's the person who will handle your succession, make sure all the assets are distributed. Normally, you'll have to go and petition the court, get somebody appointed. If you can't locate all the heirs of this person, get everybody on board, that can be a really time-consuming and costly process.
And I've seen where this isn't in place, and you've got maybe a family members in cause. Everybody loves everybody. So there's a dollar
That's
out
what we
there,
always say.
right?
When kids fight when you leave the room. They
Right.
do the same thing when you leave this area. They're going to fight.
They're going to fight. And I think that's where the estate planning comes into play, and making sure that, you are leaving what you truly want, what your wishes are for your life's work. And we've seen things where deals have gotten held up because maybe somebody's incarcerated and they think that signing off on this, like it's sitting on, or they think they're sitting on millions of dollars when in essence they're not getting anything. The other family members are actually losing money on it, and they don't want to sign it just because, right? So Gumbo Nation, I think that's something that we all have to consider, and just because and there's changes. It's just like when Colette's in here with insurance, right? If you do some updates to your home or you do something different to your home, you want to make sure you're letting your insurance company know, because that way, hey, we changed the roof. Can we lower the policy? Or, hey, we put a new room on, or we added some square footage. Update your policy. It's the same thing here with estate planning. And, Hannah, I think, and Brandy, y'all both said it, it's not like it's got to be, some gigantic thing, some estate like it's Dynasty or the movie Dallas, right, Brand, Friday nights, right? So it's not, it's whatever you have, whatever you want to kind of say, hey, here's what I would like to have going forward and going to this person. And that's where the wills and the trust and all those things sort of come into place. And then I know there's different types of trust. So on the other side of the break, I want to kind of ask you to break down, because wills and trusts, to me, sounds the same, but it's two different things, right? So want to kind of talk about that on the other side of the break. So do not go anywhere. The ladies of Florida Lee Law and Title, Hannah Wilson and Brandy Winchester, are live here in studio giving their expertise when it comes to estate planning, power of attorneys, exactly what is going on in the market, what they're seeing. So don't go anywhere. And if you want to reach out to them, just simply go to FDLLawandtitle.com. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio, 504-260-0995. Yeah, we're trying to get you fired up. The 2024 season is upon us. In a couple weeks, we'll be having our fantasy football spectacular as well. So it's who dat time. So excitement, LSU, Tulane, all the local schools. So super excited about that. All right, joining us live in studio, Total Home Authority members, Florida Lead Law and Title, FDL Law and Title, .com. We've got Brandy Winchester and Hannah Wilson in studio. And got a question during the break. If you could kind of break down exactly what is a trust.
Right.
So can you kind of, hey, what is a trust?
Yeah, sure. So a trust, essentially, there's three parties. There's the beneficiary, there's the trustee, there's two parties. And the settlor, the person who's settling the trust.
Okay.
What really matters is who the beneficiary is. That's the person that's going to be receiving the funds from the trust. The trustee is the person who's making the decisions on when that beneficiary is allowed to get those funds. That can be on an as-needed basis. It can be on a set basis by the settlor. And kind of want to debunk, because if you've been on TikTok at all and you've heard anything about trusts, it's probably from another state, about avoiding probate court, right? Like everybody says, get a trust, you don't have to go through probate. Louisiana doesn't have probate court. Our normal judges preside over our successions.
Right.
And in effect, you could avoid probate, so to say, by transferring all of your assets into a trust. And I mean all of your assets, everything you've owned. So if after you've settled this trust, if you have neglected to add certain assets, if certain assets were inherited by you that weren't put into the trust, you're still going to have to do a succession or a probate. We can also do what we call a pour-over will. So basically that says anything I die in possession of that's not put into this trust, I leave to the trust. You still have to go through probate to get that probated.
Right.
So if anybody was thinking there was a magic way to avoid probate, there is, in effect. But in practicality, in Louisiana, it's just not as effective as other states.
Yeah, and I know there's certain times with a trust where, like you said, I think the biggest thing there is making sure it's updated, it's current, because if something does happen and it's not included in there, then what, right? Now you've got, all of a sudden, you've got something where it's not covered. So what did you call that, a pour-over will?
Yes, a pour-over will.
That's cool.
So essentially just says, yes.
That's a new term, folks. We've learned holographic wills from Jeff. Now, Hannah, pour-over wills. So that's good stuff.
To get anything added to that trust. But again, to make that will effective, you still have to do a succession.
Yeah.
You end up, and I mean, look, I write trusts, so this is probably against my business interests. You spend more money setting up a trust. You know, if you're hiring people hourly, thousands of dollars to set up this trust, then a succession is going to cost. If you have a well-written will, a clear will, a good executor appointed, probate is really not as arduous as people think it is.
Yeah. And but I think it's important because, and we've talked about this in the past, a lot of folks have a lot more assets than they think.
Than they realize.
Right.
Right? So these assets add up and you don't realize it. And then at the end, when you're not here to discuss things, that becomes sort of tough. Look, I know a lot of people who've been the trustee when it comes to trust, and not one of them are like, this is awesome.
Right.
I love it.
You better really
You
trust
become the bad. Well, you got to trust the trustee, and that trustee becomes the bad guy a lot of times.
A big ask.
Yeah. I mean, we get people that call us, hey, I'm the trustee. Can you help me sell this home? I've been asked to do, so a lot of those type of things.
Now,
so
where we do always recommend a trust is when you have minor children. We call it a testamentary trust. It gets attached to your last will and testament. And that's a way of avoiding, like I kind of said earlier, putting a minor child, a young kid, in possession directly of real estate, checking accounts, all of your assets, half of your assets. So what we do is it's a trust that springs into action when you pass away, so it's not effective till you die, in favor of your kid or kids. Trustee can make those decisions instead of the court. Trustee can say when kid gets paid, what kid needs, instead of having to go to court every single time.
So is that do you put that in your will, or is it like, in other words, if I go, hey, if something happened to me, I want Gavin, I have X amount of life insurance, but I don't want him to get that till, unless he graduates from college with a 4.0. Is that part of a will, or is that a trust, or kind of?
Kind of both. So
Okay.
it's kind of a combo. So you'll have your last will and testament, and then attached to the back of that, we have testamentary trust in favor of Gavin Stein.
Okay.
If you're married and you want your wife to have all your assets, you could leave everything to her. And if she predeceases me, or if we perish in the same incident, then this trust comes into effect. And you can say, yeah, I want Gavin to have it when he's 25, or I want him to get half at 25, half at 30, when he gets a college degree, when he has his first kid. You have more freedom to customize that testamentary trust than you do with a will. And I won't get into all of it, because Louisiana has forced heirship laws, which make it really, really hard.
But she will get into it if you go to FDL Law and Title .com and you hire their services, and they can definitely help you out with that, right? Because then the forced heirship, that becomes a whole different ball game. So, Brandy, let's talk about, you're out in the market all the time, right? I mean, marketing coordinator, business development. What are you sort of seeing in the market? I know we've got a great event coming up this week. Jeff's also, and Hannah, y'all also have I think that's on Wednesday as well, right? The estate planning, or has that been pushed?
That's next Thursday, the
That's
21st.
the 21st. Okay,
Yeah.
so kind of what are you seeing out in the market? Are you seeing some excitement, or with the rates a little bit, or is it kind of people still a little nervous and everybody in survival mode?
I think it's picking up for sure. We're seeing refis. We're seeing some more people willing to move, take the plunge.
The plunge, yeah.
So lots of open houses. I know they're a little worried about the commission changes, but I think that's just going to be a little adjustment.
Yeah, I think, look, that's something, we're putting together for next week, and there are. In Gumbo Nation, there's going to be a lot of changes on how things operate going forward. And, hey, just like we've been here to guide you for the last 10 years, and I've been doing this for 30 years, this is just a thing, right, so to speak. It's not something you need to worry about. This is why you hire professionals. This is why we say, hey, come to Mortgage Gumbo and you hire us. You're not just somebody who's going to give you lip service. So we're going to explain that to you. It's probably more important now, if you're considering buying a house, to get with Mortgage Gumbo, to get with your lender first before you start moving forward, because everything's changing as of next Saturday. And, there's certain things, and you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're on the hook for something that you do not need to be. So I know that is something that, and of course it's happening, right, as rates are starting to fall. It's always the perfect storm, right at the same time, So who knows? Maybe next week they'll come out and go, hey, we're going to push this back. But I doubt it. We're not going to see that. So, Hannah, Brandy, thank y'all so much for being in studio. Amazing information. Florida Law and Title, Total Home Authority members for over 5 years. They're fantastic. They do a great job. They make sure that they can get you the answers that you need to when it comes to your life's work. And that's why we've got them, and they are amazing to work with. They make miracles happen. And let's face it, sometimes 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. Every loan doesn't walk down the red carpet. So make sure you go visit those folks at FDLLawandtitle.com. If you're old school like me, 985-277-5550. Hannah, Brandy, thank y'all so much for taking your Saturday to be here. Gumbo Nation, stick around. We're going to do Winning at Life up next. But till next week, Gumbo Nation, keep stirring.